We'll give you the latest information from that blast in Beirut. The vaccine debate is heating up. We'll talk Turkey and a whole lot more coming up on today's Wade and Carter Show. You just broke rule number 1. Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm good.
Good, let's do this.
Good morning. The Wade and Carter weather brought to you by Deerland Feed Store, your go-to source for all things animal, lawn maintenance,
agriculture
seeds, not Chinese seeds.
No, these are seeds you want.
Venom, Viper. When you go into a feed store, a pro feed store, you get, like, you go into Lowe's and you get stuff called Bug Be Gone, Ants Away. You go into Deerland, Napalm. I want some napalm for the red ants.
Bug napalm.
They got it. Deerland Feed Store. 75 degrees in Victoria, heading to a high today of 96 under cloudy skies. A repeat of yesterday. The one thing that caught my attention.
Which will be repeated tomorrow.
What do you think the humidity was this morning?
High.
91%.
Whew, that would explain the fog.
Yep, there you go.
And the windows. I just could not keep.
Are we still at 66?
I don't know. Bobby Leister's in this morning. Patrick Strauss, Scott Tomko, Robin Moore Knipling, C.W. Bean.
Hello, Robin Moore. I saw Matt Boucher.
Yep, still at 66. Marvin Mickish. Good morning, Matt Boucher. Brent Anderson. Don McCole.
Hi, sweet girl.
Chris Jansen. Judge Posey. Good morning. Larry Leahy.
Dave Garza.
Good morning. Crystal Stringham.
You know, we owe Dave Garza for hooking us up with Deerland Feed.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you, sir. Yeah. Patricia Nagel, Trey Molina.
People who need people.
Helping people.
Are the luckiest people in the world.
Sometimes I'm not so sure.
Right. BJ Nelson says good morning. I don't know what it was. It was very quick when you went by.
There's a whole bunch up here. Larry Leahy is like Frank Mejia. It's just Yankees.
Well, that's easy. You know, 29 championships will do that to you.
Look at that. Deerland Feed has tomato plants coming in today.
Yeah, don't take a chance. Go by and get those. They're going to be beautiful and healthy. All they need is lots of sun and lots of water.
Not too much sun. They'll burn up.
Well, you put them right up against your house. It was like put them in a microwave.
No, I put them away.
Did you move them out?
Yeah. They did good. They got morning sun and afternoon shade.
Now, I saw somebody the other day was selling pepper plants. And I thought that there was like a time you planted those and that was it. I wish I could grow jalapenos year round. I would try.
I think you can as long as they don't freeze.
I just don't know.
Trey Molina, good morning.
I'll get with Deerland on that. I bet Lacey knows.
Larry Leahy says, where will I get my weather if you aren't on tomorrow?
Great point. Chances are good. Chances are looking up we're going to be here.
Can we talk about all the new restaurants in town?
Hello, OB.
Reviews. That's what BJ Nelson wants to know.
There's 2 restaurants we go to in town. Veracruz and Uncle Mutt's. What other reviews could there possibly be?
What more do we need?
Who else has restaurants in town? I haven't been to Bird Dogs yet. I've heard good things about it.
I haven't been
to Froggy's. Froggy's Grill and Bar, I think it's called.
And then there's an Empire Grill and Bar.
Yeah, those are 3 places worth checking out. I mean, I would recommend if you're out. Bird Dogs is at the old, it's not fair to them. It's at the corner of Airline and Laurent. It's where you used to see Hungry Jack's. And I've heard that much of the fare is reminiscent of Hungry Jack's. That's not a bad deal.
No.
It was a mainstay here.
Arthur O'Brien, good morning to you.
OB, good morning, my friend.
Chris Conrad.
Dawn had put a video up the other day of us working out, and OB sent me a note that said, slow down and use the resistance on the. I said, look, man, I was just hanging on.
Yeah.
We were doing 60 reps. Michael Pena was doing high reps of low weight. And I was, around number 35, 36. I mean, I was done. And Caden was videoing us because Michael likes to make sure that we're doing decent form.
It wasn't one of these, was it?
Yeah.
4, 5,
Like in
85, 86,
100.
87.
Yeah, like a Will Ferrell in Anchorman.
Just jump to the highest number.
What did you see that was funny there?
Well, Chris Conrad talking trash about my New York Rangers. They got swept.
Yeah, but you're a big Rangers fan. It's interesting. Hockey fans always have like a sub team. Like I'm a Cowboys fan of football, and that's it.
Well, I'm a Cowboys fan of football, but here's why. The Calgary Flames didn't come to town until the 80-81 season. There was no NHL hockey in Calgary as a kid growing up.
Where did they come from?
Atlanta. They were the Atlanta Flames. Nelson Scalbania bought them and brought them to Calgary. So,
you know why they were called the Flames?
Yes, because the city burned. General Sherman took them
down. Back to the Civil War.
Yeah.
It's racist, I tell you. It's racist.
It was the Union.
Racist.
Not the Confederates that burned the city. So that's good. So anyway, what happened?
Sherman was a bad guy.
Yeah. Yeah, he was.
No reason to burn the whole city.
No.
It was America.
And to rape and pillage and loot and all the other stuff they did.
They went wild.
No, they really did.
Rena Shear says the brown bag is open. Good.
So as a kid growing up,
response to Wade and Carter's complaints.
You had, in Canada, you had Montreal and Toronto. Vancouver had a team since 1970, but nobody really cared. And the games were always on late because they were on the West Coast. It was kind of that West Coast or East Coast bias. So you never saw them. So as a kid, you either cheered for Montreal or Toronto in Canada. And then all of a sudden,
well, they were both Canadians. I mean, they were both.
Yeah, they were the two Canadian teams. Well, Toronto's not. But then
you were a Toronto guy.
No, then my dad was friends with a gentleman. I think they served in the Navy together, named Jack Davidson. Jack's son happened to be a very good hockey player from Calgary, who was a goalie that played his junior hockey in Calgary, and then he was drafted by St. Louis, but was traded to the New York Rangers. And as a kid, I got a bunch of stickers and things for my lunchbox from the New York Rangers. That's all it took.
So
I could be bought very easily as a kid.
Jack Davidson, he already had his alias because your dad was in the Russian Navy, correct?
No, my dad was in the Canadian Navy.
Whatever. He infiltrated, rising to the ranks. You ever see a movie called No Way Out with Kevin Costner?
Yes.
Highly, highly recommended. If you haven't seen it, it's a fantastic movie.
So that's how I became a Rangers fan, and the Flames showed up in 80-81, and I also became a Flames fan. And they're in different conferences. It'd be like liking an American League team and a National League team.
Tune in tomorrow when we hear about Ash's junior high years.
That's all it took.
I was born a poor black child in Tupelo, Mississippi.
I'm in the phone book.
Yeah. These cans are defective. Your head's going to be defective, Nathan, if you don't get out of that.
So that's the story behind why that I have two allegiances in the NHL. If they ever make it to the Stanley Cup against each other,
You're a Flames guy.
I'd probably get one of those Flamers jerseys, half one, half the other.
House divided. Yeah, I like that. So Rena points out the brown bag is now open. That's great because it's 7:05. I need a bracer to get ready for my day.
Or to put up with this show. Christina Wise, good morning. Clayton Meyer.
Clayton.
You have to order food, she says.
Yeah.
That's okay.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we've said all along, we talked about it here yesterday and last week. There's no logic. It is no different at all for Ash and I to leave the show and go to Veracruz for lunch, wear a mask in, sit across from each other, and be served, than it is for Ash and I to walk into the brown bag and get some fried pickles and be served, or for Ash and I to walk into the brown bag and sit and have a beer. It's no different.
No.
What you're ingesting doesn't increase your chance of coronavirus.
The logic just defies me and everybody else, but nobody questions it.
My sister-in-law
Except for us.
came home yesterday, Robin, and reported. She said, "I don't have the exact source." She said, "Don't use this on the radio." But I'm saying we don't have the exact source. But
Too late.
she heard on the radio that some credible scientist had said, folks, this virus may not actually be airborne. The tests are starting to show that it may actually be contact driven and not actually airborne. Ash and I get caught up. We get all kinds of conspiracy stuff sent to us. It is interesting. That little video we were just watching. Some of it I buy, some of it we both go, nah.
Yeah.
At the same time, we're listening to it, go, no, that's not right. But it is amazing how the government, and what are you going to do when they have a vaccine? And you're like, I don't know if I need a vaccine. I'd rather be tested for antibodies. I've had several days in the last couple of months where I've been kind of drowsy and lethargic. I thought it was because I was 57. Could be because I've got COVID. But
could be because you're 57 with 2 young kids and you're tired of chasing them around.
Do you know they've already told you, no, can't leave the country, and we just followed along like sheep? What if they tell you?
But other countries said we couldn't leave the country.
Yeah, but what if they say
they're not
you can't get on an airplane without a vaccine?
Yeah.
You've got to show proof that you had a vaccine or you can't fly. How you feel about that? I mean, I'm not an anti-vaxxer.
No, I'm not either.
But I don't like the government
Absolutely.
telling me I've got to get a shot.
Well, they
you
do
don't know
now.
what's in that shot.
They do now. You gotta get your measles, MMR. You gotta get your chicken pox.
No, you don't. Only if you go to public school.
Oh,
it's true. If you want to homeschool your kids, you don't have to get them shots. Of course, your kid's going to look pretty silly with mumps and measles and chickenpox. Walking around with polio.
You're not really walking around if you have polio, are you?
Smallpox. Smallpox. What about large pox? That would really suck.
It would.
What's a pox anyway? I don't know. Trivia.
Awful scoring.
Atlanta has failed at hockey.
Yeah,
twice.
they had the Thrashers, and they've ended up moving to Winnipeg to become the Reborn Jets.
So how does it happen that Atlanta, a much bigger city than Nashville, fails at hockey, and Nashville thrives? It's been worshipped. Of course, it doesn't hurt that Vince Gill walks out on the ice and sings the national anthem.
Yeah, or Carrie Underwood.
Right, that helps. Star power.
You're right down. I think you're right out. You're either at the end of Broadway or close to Broadway. They've created a whole entertainment district around the arena. Right. But you're the only game in town too, right? There's no NBA team. There's no NFL team in Nashville. So, and they've embraced it. I think minor league baseball.
Isn't Nashville where the Titans are?
Are they in Nashville? I don't know. It's the Titans. I don't care. They left Texas. I didn't care.
Right.
Not that I was an Oilers fan, but can't do that to my state.
Cindy McBean says today is Clint Ives' birthday. That's Precinct 4 Commissioner Clint Ives. We never
say happy birthday.
refuse to do birthday shout outs. It's just part of our mantra. We always agree that was the dumbest part of every radio show. But if we did one, we would say, Clint, happy birthday, my friend.
If we did, happy birthday, but we don't.
We don't do it. Happy birthday, Clint.
That doesn't mean we're not wishing you happy birthday.
We think about you.
Yeah. HR Mallory checking in. Matt Boucher says you can grow peppers year round with mild winters. Christina Wise says just put them in pots and you can move them indoors in the cooler months.
Cool. It's the Christina and Matt Show.
This gardening moment
brought to you by Nurses.
Yeah, you can put them in
a heart
with a green thumb.
Right.
Green thumb nurses. You can put them in bigger pots with wheels on the bottom. Then you don't have to carry them. You can just wheel them in.
You could just season your food with pot.
Well, there's that too.
It becomes hallucinogenic soup.
Lisa Poole, good morning. Karen Webb checking in.
What did
Jimbo Slice's Uncle Mutz is what was for dinner last night.
Hey, how was it, Jimbo? What'd you have? Send us a note on that. Don't call. Don't call, really. Just send us a note.
Morning, Adam Daughtry. Greg Garcia, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, my dudes.
I like that.
I like that. I saw Andy Reha Jr. yesterday.
Did you? Where at?
At the UPS store. He didn't say to tell you hi. He said hi to me. They always say tell Ash hi. Everybody does that. Tell Ash hi.
You didn't say hi. You just said tell Ash hi, right?
Oh, now Lacey's getting serious with it. Spring is the best time, but you can keep your pepper plants alive through the summer. If you can keep them alive through the summer heat, they will really thrive until the first frost date in the fall. And that's when Christina wants to move them in.
Yes.
See, then you've got pepper trees next spring.
Bob Watley, good morning.
Bobcat, good morning, buddy.
Michael Jolly. Michael sent me a video yesterday that kind of showed that there might have been some fireworks near that plant. It wasn't even a plant. It was a storage facility in the port area of Beirut is what the narrative is changing to now.
It's where Syria was keeping weapons of mass destruction.
This whole thing it gets weirder and weirder, and you have to start wondering. We'll get into that.
We're never wrong. Give me an example of one of the ones we talked about. We talked about the noose hoax for NASCAR, called it a hoax from day one. What else did we talk about that we were right about? There was one good one a while back. Remember we told you.
And so much.
We told you. Yeah, there's so much. There's no reason to dwell on individual incidents.
So the last count I saw this morning, 130 confirmed dead, 5,000 injured, and they're missing dozens of folks. I mean, and I'm not trying to sound flippant. It's the death tolls. How is it not higher? I mean, for whatever reason, an explosion like that, and we're only talking 130 people dead.
You think they had a little notice to get out of there?
No, I don't think that. I think it was just sheer luck that more people aren't dead. That
stuttering moment you just did, that little stammering, that thing you did, reminded me to tell you that yesterday on the Golf Channel, they did a really nice 10-minute piece on Ken Venturi. Most of you don't recall because you didn't care back then, and you really don't care now. But in 1964, Ken Venturi won the U.S. Open. Beat his hero, Ben Hogan. I made that up. It didn't happen. But he won the U.S. Open. And it was a big deal because they talked about Venturi at the time. Literally, the phrase was he cheated death to win the U.S. Open. Struggling, dehydrated, scared, coming up, hands shaking and all that. What nobody knew then was that Venturi was a raging alcoholic. Raging alcoholic, and the man was hungover. He was literally dehydrated from all the booze the night before because he was scared to death playing in the U.S. Open. He went on, though. He was a
very good commentator,
a great Hall of Fame commentator. He and Jim Nance, hello, friends.
Venturi predated Nance.
Yes, and was great. 30-something years, I think, on CBS. Voice of the Masters, all that stuff. But they did a nice, and when you went, that reminded me.
Why did he stutter?
Oh yeah, he was as a child was they called it stammering. He was a stammerer.
I did not know that.
And then they said that he first learned to overcome it by doing play-by-play of his golf on the golf course.
Interesting. No, I'm just amazed.
Dog food.
I'm just amazed that the death toll in Beirut isn't higher. And I got to think partly maybe due to the construction of the buildings there.
You think there might be more on this later? You think there could be?
Yeah, I think so. They're now saying, and Michael Jolly sent me that video that showed some flashes in the building before, and I'm still not convinced they were fireworks. They kind of look like charges to me. But
right.
It gets a little more. If you're into conspiracy theories, this might be one that the rabbit hole is easy to fall down. Because now all of a sudden, 2,700 metric tons of, this is 1,000 times bigger than Oklahoma City, more than that. just to try to give you a frame of reference as how big this was. Arrives in Beirut on a leaky, broken down cargo ship from Russia.
Right. And what was its purpose? What was it going to do?
It was supposedly heading on somewhere else, and the ship owner didn't want to pay the money to go through the Suez Canal. So he took it this way, stopped in Beirut, the story goes, to pick up some equipment and other supplies. The equipment couldn't fit on the ship because it was too big, and he couldn't pay the fees that he owed for docking there and all that. His crew bailed on him because they seized the boat and they weren't getting paid. They had already, and this was his second crew. The original crew bailed on him before they even left Russia because he hadn't paid him in weeks. And so it just gets weirder and weirder as this thing moves along. And now you've got ammonium nitrate showing up in Beirut, which, from all things I've read, is mostly used in the production of fertilizer and explosives. That's kind of it. Those are the two things ammonium nitrate is for.
I'd like to bring in right now a quick guest host, a little guest here. My buddy H.R. Mallory just walked in the studio, and he gives me the chance to go over and show you the Compadres design special guest wall. So hang on a second, folks. I'll be right back. Oh, good.
But HR might know some other uses for ammonium nitrate. I don't know. But from everything I've read, that's it. How are you, sir?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Good, good. What brings you by this morning?
I just stopped by to drop something off. It's not the most Victoria thing I think I could ever find other than the actual Caleb Shaw trophy. I don't know if you've seen these, the Brother Man pins.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Is that what's in here?
Yeah, that's what's in there.
The Brother Man.
I had seen the pins, but I did not know that they were still available.
Yeah, I saw they were available yesterday, so I saw a couple of them.
This is for us?
Yes.
Oh, thank you, sir.
So HR, okay, you're obviously with all the, we have lots of fun with you, but with all the humorous side, I mean, you're a highly trained law enforcement officer. You're a military veteran. You've been in foreign places. Do you believe, knee jerk, a Russian ship, a Beirut storage facility, you think it was just a little ammonium nitrate, something just got a little out of control over there and it blew up? Or do you think somewhere in there we're dealing with the CIA going in there and blowing up the left half of Beirut?
I think with everything, you always need to take the proper amount of time to investigate what happened. And usually the first report is always wrong.
There you go. And this whole, because the first report, there was not like, we think it might be a fireworks warehouse.
No, they were adamant.
We've got word now that a Beiruti fireworks manufacturing facility is blown up. Well, who told you that? Whoever told them that is the perpetrator of the lie.
They were apparently, I just looked at the story again. That Russian cargo ship was originally headed to Mozambique.
Nothing good happens in Mozambique.
You're heading there with over 2,000 tons of ammonium nitrate to Mozambique.
Because we're going to fertilize the desert.
Yeah. Didn't get there.
Dude, it doesn't get any better than a Brother Gary Moses pen. You want one? HR hooked you up.
I like it.
How about that? We were on the Brother Man a little bit about, how come we don't have one? Brother Man was kind of like, hey, I didn't do those.
They were so popular, they sold out real quick. We got a second order of them.
You are such a gentleman to do that for us.
Thank you, sir.
So what else is going on? Colton, how are you, bud? Colton, give me a high five. Hi, brother. Colton's out there chilling in the green room. That's your second margarita. Shut it down now.
Margaritas and Cocoa Puffs.
That's all. How can you go wrong? I thought it was Kibbles and Bits. I didn't know it was Cocoa Puffs.
Breakfast of Champions.
I just knocked back a little Iams mini chunks is what that looked like.
Oh,
So your family's good? Everybody's good?
Yeah, everybody's doing good.
Tell me about, you've been doing a lot of training lately. You training other people or you getting trained?
Yes, the last 2 weeks I was up in Florence, Texas, what we call our crash level 3 school, which basically makes me an expert and to testify in court as a crash expert. But definitely need a lot more experience before I start calling myself.
They give you scenarios.
They give you a lot. We do a lot of math.
Is that right? So if the skid marks are this long, we know the vehicle had to be going this fast. See, the problem is I've got.
You got to look at underwear to see the skid marks.
Not those type of skid marks.
Okay,
But, you know, he stands up, drops track class. How fast was I going there, trooper? No, but you look at it, and I can't make my car slide. That's a problem. I mean, I can be going 100 miles an hour. I slam on the brakes. I hit them going 95. I have interlock brakes. It doesn't lock up. No. Hey, I will.
In
tell you
theory,
this.
he read the car and driver report.
I will tell you that big sled that I drive coming back the other day, Dawn and I had gone to San Marcos, and on the way home, we went through New Braunfels, came down Highway 46, and cut over to we cut through the back roads to places like Wrightsboro, Colt and Wrightsboro, and then down to Smiley, over to Westoff. And I came in when you come out of Westoff, if you're going towards Cuero, there's a section of road there where you can, if you just pause for a minute, you can see about 2.5 miles. And there's some hills, there's some double yellow line. But if you wait 10 seconds, you can see if anybody's topping any of those hills. Well, they weren't. And that allowed me to let that car breathe.
Do you want to plead the fifth?
No, I don't think you can admit to something like that after the fact, but it was really, really fun.
Just check your mailbox.
Right. I get an after the fact ticket in the mail.
Photo radar.
Well, you have warmed up the guest banner. What do you think about that banner? That's nice from Compadres, huh?
They're both very nice.
Yeah, Compadres does great work. We're gonna have to take a break in a minute. Look who's out there waiting to take your spot. His Eminence, the great one himself.
Oops.
So he's been at the brown bag this morning. Wow. Speaking of the bag, did you see Nancy Pelosi's video the other day?
No, I haven't.
Doctored video.
You think it was doctored?
Yeah, there were analysts that went in and said, yeah, it was slowed down by about 25% and edited to make her slur.
Sure it was. That's what analysts said.
So
I've known Nancy all my life.
they might have been analysts. I don't know.
Right, could have been. Well, hey, thank you for coming by.
Thanks for the
extra
Yuri pins.
You could give it to the brother man. He kept selling them stuff. If you wanted to auction it off here, that's fine.
We could auction off the Brother Man pin. But no, does the pin do anything for you? If you go into certain restaurants, do you get a discount or something?
It's the brother man. I mean,
We'll have to ask the brother man when he gets here later.
We need to go down and we need this to be the face of the Brother
If
Man
you're in
statue.
trouble, can you shine into the sky and he'll show up?
I need
like
one
the
of those little
bat?
things like you keep your badge in with my ID and a Brother Man pin. I can whip out here's like, officer, yes, here's my license. And did you notice I'm wearing a Brother Man pin?
Oh, you never like you're fine.
Oh, you're good. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
Slow down a little. Keep it between the lines.
And then if you really need it, you see my 100 Club sticker on the back?
Right. Got one of those too. Got one of those too. We got it all. I get a 200 Club sticker if I could. Thank you for coming by, my friend.
Appreciate it, HR. Thank you,
Y'all
sir.
have a great day. Tell you what, if HR Mallory's at the scene and he needs help, he's calling Allen's Wrecker Service, 578-6300. Allen will come out and help you to coordinate with law enforcement.
My guess is, though, HR is not showing up until after. No, Allen's will be there. You still got to make sure everything's where it needs to be. Yep.
Allen will be there. Allen's Wrecker Service,
578-6300, the one to call if you need a wrecker for anything, from a jump start to towing an incapacitated vehicle.
They'll jump you. No doubt about it. They'll give you a quick jump. The VCS company's Rocket Oilfield Services and the only locally owned and authorized AT&T retailer, all part of the Hartman communication empire.
Doing
They're
more
doing
than
stuff
just
now.
communication.
They're doing stuff now, folks, so high tech that when you walk into certain schools, there's a piece of equipment that'll check each kid's temperature and let you know if that child needs to go back to the house.
Yeah.
It's great stuff. It's high tech. It's demanded technology. And the Hartmans do it better than anybody. They do it right the first time.
Yeah, they can monitor your temps when you enter the building. I mean, it's cameras that'll watch every corner of your building. They can design it all for your security, your peace of mind. VCS companies.
Perfect. SCT Building Systems, Clayton and Casey Help.
564-8864, the number to call from. They finished that patio cover and it looks phenomenal.
It did that. Are those people tired of you driving by their house?
Probably by now, but I won't have to now. I've seen the finished product.
I've got like a metallic sticker on the side that says SCT. I can go anywhere. I just stick that on the side of my car. And I just go.
They put a little bit of like metal. I don't want to call it siding, but they coordinated it to match the trim on the house, which is really nice.
Beautiful. Chesnick Furniture Company, Chesnick and Love, make your house a home. And you'll just do better at Chesnick. 116 West Warren Lynn, the corner of Warren Lynn and Bridge. Been there 70 years, been in business 100. Just 100.
Just 100.
I think they're going to make it. It's a tradition in Victoria. Get down there and see Bobby Leon, third generation of that great family business.
Yeah, they'll provide all the furniture you need to make your house a home.
Good time to tell you, look at Tommy Taylor, fourth generation of that great family business. Since 1926, the Atzenauer dealer.
94 years in business, just behind Chesnick.
Yeah. Well, you didn't need trucks until you had furniture.
No, exactly.
And then now you got to have trucks. But Chevy, Cadillac, Mazda, Mitsubishi.
And I think they've got a great oil change deal going on.
Oh.
1926, I think.
My mother went in and it saved her, honestly, 60% of her going to the dealership.
Yeah, I don't doubt
Down
it.
in Corpus.
And time.
Oh, no doubt about it.
So
Selling cars like candy bars. Atzenauer since 1926.
Atzenauer.com as well.
I went to Veracruz yesterday.
Yes, you did.
I did not have Caldo.
They were sold out.
Yes, and I had the compuestas. Compuestas.
Plural.
They're feminine. Yeah. Great. Crunchy chalupa shell, refried beans, a little ground meat. They melted my white cheese on top, lettuce, tomatoes, and then I put the serranos on it. It's phenomenal. Hot sauce. We didn't get queso yesterday. We called that a diet.
Oh, you had to work out.
It was beautiful. I had unsweet iced tea. And there's one of the ladies there came out. She had 2 pitchers of tea in her hand. Now, the unsweet is usually the one that doesn't have duct tape on the
Yes.
handle. She came walking out and she said, "Would you like some more tea?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." So I took my lid off. She had a pitcher in each hand, and she literally like looked at her right hand, looked at her left hand, and just kind of poured one. It was sweet. But I didn't tell her. You know, you couldn't tell her.
Yeah, no.
It wasn't Minnie. But it was great. If I would have told Minnie, and Minnie would go, "You don't love me. You don't love me. You love me, you wouldn't talk to me like that." That's what she does to me.
Well, because you talked to her like that.
Unbelievable. That family, that's our family. The folks at Veracruz will take care of your family. Razor IT Solutions, JP Hull and his crew will take care of all your analytics, your Facebook presence, your internet presence.
Your data security.
The way your brand works, all your encryption. You want to understand what's going on behind the scenes on your website? JP Hull is your guy.
He's at Veracruz now.
Yeah, he would be. Judge, you got time?
And don't forget the great folks at White Trash Services, Scott and BJ Nelson, 550-1826.
Just
For all your trash collection needs, from a weekly curbside container to a dumpster to a roll-off, they've got it all. Dwayne Payne checking in. He says he doesn't need a vaccine. He's got hydroxychloroquine.
There you go. Judge Zeller's looking awful spiffy. Got you right here in front of the
Johnny Hodden, good morning. Clint Ives.
Happy birthday, Clint.
See who else is in this
40
morning.
years old today.
Is that
Again?
right?
Yep.
Jeffrey Fonseca.
Doesn't look a day over 60.
No, not at all.
He's kind of getting
Little Greg.
a little gray.
Missy Yearwood, good morning to you. Jay Dub, Jeffrey Fonseca, Bobcat Watley. Bob Watley says
Right.
Venturi was around when the golfers spoke quietly because they thought they could hear him. They were actually greenside and they could hear him.
Well, but he's like, "We're live at the 18th, and he's got this putt for birdie." Yeah, great stuff. How are you,
Right
sir?
Doing well. Good to be here.
Are you envious of my brother man pin?
I've seen those around. That's pretty cool.
I'd like to see it on a T-shirt. I think it might be good on a T-shirt.
That would be cool. Looks like Ash needs a haircut worse than I do.
Christopher Conrad said Beirut, of course, is world renowned for its fireworks. Yeah, Black Cat from
Yeah.
Beirut, downtown Lebanon.
It looked like ammonium nitrate.
Is that what it looked like?
But in any case,
Because
good
he's
to be here.
A
Like I said.
forensic specialist. Things blowing up, he's on it. Tell us, you're awfully overdressed. Y'all are just hammering out a budget. You don't have to be all, is that an authoritative deal? Like if you look a certain way, when you say no, then they believe you because you're wearing a tie?
It's Thursday, and we are working on the budget still this week.
The red pen must have ran out of ink, did it? You know, you need to get a new one.
That's pure coincidence.
Okay.
Don't get too excited. There's still no money. No, but actually,
Hence the red pen running out of ink.
It was, and we've talked about. I think even before we started the budget, talked about the shortfall, the budget gap we were looking at, which we are certainly anticipating. But I think in spite of that, I'm still very optimistic about next year. I think we are addressing that shortfall the way it ought to be addressed. It's been reported we're looking at addressing that without increasing the tax rate. It is a smaller general fund budget than last time. But that's what we do. We live within our means and do what we need to do to still provide the services that we do. And, frankly, like I say, I'm very optimistic about next year. And I think it's being handled well. We should wrap this up, I hope, by tomorrow, finish up the discussion and be able to put a proposed budget online early next week.
I read a very favorable, or I thought very accurate, article in the local newspaper talking about explaining how you didn't want to raise the rate. It also pointed out that there was an influx of $700,000 and something that was coming in the form maybe of a grant of some type that was going to pick up the gap in the budget from where Road and Bridge wasn't going to get as much funding.
Right. Well, one of the primary ways we were able to address such a large budget gap is credit to the 4 county commissioners who have offered up essentially foregoing funding into their budgets, diverting that back to the general operations of the county, which they should be applauded for that. That effort on their part was about $660,000 that they're foregoing in order to, like I say, steer that money towards the general fund. However, the community won't see a deficit in service or activity due to the fact, and this has been in the news also, is that the county fortunately secured a recent about a $711,000 infrastructure grant for county roads, those impacted by oil and gas activity. So
That'll fill that gap.
That'll fill that gap so that, in this time period we're looking at, there really won't be a decrease in money going into county roads. It's just the sources have changed. And at the end of the day, we will be able to balance the budget, again, with no increase to the tax rate and no decline in service to the community, really no net decline in dollars going into county roads. And it's been tough. Every budget, whether lean times or, good times, is a robust discussion about where the priorities are, where a limited pool of dollars should be allocated. It's a world of competing and sometimes irreconcilable demands on a very limited pool of money. So every year we prioritize, but as usual this year and every year we have very high up that priority list is the interests of our taxpayers. And, I think at the end of the day, when the smoke clears from all this will be a budget that the community can appreciate and frankly agree with. And you don't see that everywhere these days.
So I know there's going to be concern and angst among some, and I don't know if it's merited or not, but tell us about where we stand with our investment in law enforcement, given that, we've got a new sheriff. And understand that guys like Ash and me who listen to both sides of the pancake. You hear all the time, Roy Boyd would come in here, and we love Roy Boyd. He's going to do a great job in Goliad. But Roy would come in and just as sincerely as he could be, would paint the picture of deputies' vehicles being held together with super glue and fingernail polish, and that everything was, if it wasn't for that extra baling wire that I had out at my place, we wouldn't be able to hold the jail closed. And oh goodness, that judge is killing us with his budget. And but then they always had like a new gun or a new helicopter or something. So I'm always trying to get a feel. We like to razz you about it, but it is a concern. You've got a new sheriff. How's that going to work out?
Yeah. First of all, you are absolutely correct. Chief Boyd, soon to be Sheriff Boyd, will do a wonderful job in Goliad. For a little community like that, to have a lawman of that caliber coming in is wonderful for them.
Big things on the horizon.
Wonderful for them. As to the SO's budget, this year, despite what you see in the media, police were not defunded. We, in spite of a $1 million deficit, the SO's budget is not decreasing. In fact, we recently were able to allocate $250,000 in this budget for new vehicles, coupled with some funds in the sheriff's office current budget, about 8 new patrol vehicles this year.
Nice.
This current year. And then going into 2021, the budget will largely be flat. So, within it, it'll be flat. It's not decreasing. It might be up just a hair. But in this environment, I think that's a win. That's a good thing. It's not going down. And obviously last year we took a big step forward in, not as big a step as we would have wanted, but we were able to give all our licensed peace officers a $4,500 raise, which is not totally where we need to be, but a big step in the right direction.
Yes, sir.
Law enforcement, public safety wasn't cut. That's the top focus and responsibility of county government, public safety, and that remains a priority in our budget. If you look at our budget, probably 2/3 in total is allocated to public safety. The sheriff's office obviously is the biggest office in the county, around $16 million. So
wow,
no cuts there, as is appropriate.
Couple of questions. Jimbo Slice brings up something that I know. He points to Nueces County trying this. I've heard other jurisdictions do the same. Increasing fees for different services. Is that something the Victoria County has looked at to try to address a shortfall? He specifically pointed to county clerk fees, but I know others are doing something similar, proposing something similar.
That's something that as an ongoing basis we look at, we analyze. Going into the new budget year, we really aren't doing that. There's a few here and there, small ones. The child safety fee that generates money for child welfare of activities. That'll put about another $12,000 in our coffers available for probably our child welfare board. Small things, but that's not one of the bigger mechanisms of how we balance the budget this year. Increasing of fees, and that's frankly, when you go through our budget and look, we get a lot of different fees for a lot of different things. Generally small buckets of money, but there's a lot of different ones, and virtually all of them have fallen off the cliff in terms of. With COVID, the court system being shut down, activities in many county arenas kind of coming to a halt, all of our revenues are down. The big ones, of course, is sales tax, but also inmate bed space contracts in the county jail, bed space contracts in the juvenile detention center. Those are big sources of revenue, historically have been at least, but we've taken big hits there really across the board. And one challenge, too, is that as county government, even though some of these activities and the corresponding revenues have slowed down, our expenses largely have not, due to it largely being personnel.
right.
So that's been a challenge, but I think we've overcome that challenge this year and in next year's budget as well.
A quick aside for you, sir, that we talk about that the decrease in activity, the courts leads to a decrease in revenue. I had a really, I was fortunate. I happened to be in the right place at the right time and had about a 25-minute conversation with City Manager Jesus Garza just last week. And he mentioned to me, he said, one thing that is of concern as we seek to maximize our economic development, program, is that through the spring and this far into the summer, our hotel tax has not been down significantly.
Mm-hmm.
He says that shows that Victoria hasn't historically been a tourist place. People aren't coming here in the spring and summer because if they were, you'd have an off in hotel rooms. And he says,
We know that.
but he says that's one of the things that we're really going to focus on is trying to develop more to do at Riverside Park, more to do, encourage the bird watchers and all that, really reach out. So that kind of is an example of what you were saying, that things that you would expect to be off haven't been off, and things you don't think about because like the courts are shut down and all that, they affect a number of things.
Yeah, it does affect a number of things, and I applaud Jesus in the city. Mayor McCoy obviously has made that whole conversation a priority for him, economic growth, economic development, because, we largely, things have been pretty flat in terms of economic growth by and large, certainly population growth. We historically grow at, less than 1% a year.
Well below what the rest of the state is seeing.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. So
Which is alarming.
And that is certainly merits the focus of us going forward.
Where are we looking with property tax appraisals? Have you gotten any indication of where those are this year in light of COVID? And
Yeah,
did they rise significantly? Do you know?
Well, those, of course, that's those are values assessed prior to COVID, and that's a concern a lot of folks have. Shouldn't the effect of COVID recalibrate values? Limited growth. We compare it to, people look at what we were seeing during the Eagle Ford boom, both in terms of property and sales tax. That's nowhere near what it was then, and I really don't see that coming back in the near term, but modest growth in the tax base. There was some new values because obviously we've had some new development, but it's been modest, very modest.
I've also seen a push on social media lately for a reformation of the tax structure in the state of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And it's somewhat of a grassroots movement, but more a push for a consumption tax or something like that. What's your take on that? Would that be a better way to do things from a county perspective?
That is a big discussion. And I think the current system needs to be revamped and reformed. The problem with the current system is that ultimate accountability in many arenas, people point fingers every different direction. This has become a new focus of the state legislature to point at local governments internal, point at the appraisal district. Appraisal district will largely, in many ways, rightfully so, say we're playing under the rules that the legislature set for us. I think an arena, a system where there is less finger pointing is certainly preferable. The bigger discussion that's going on is moving from the property tax to the consumption tax. Of course, the state budget is primarily funded through sales tax, which that's preferable to property tax, but that's cyclical, it's volatile, and you see the effect of that. In the current biennium, the comptrollers revised their estimate where they're looking at a $4 billion deficit. But, Ash, that's a good question. Am I optimistic things are going to be reformed in the next session? No. I'd put the chance at near zero due to the fact that is the Woodrow Wilson quote, if you want to make a lot of enemies change something. That's a very complex and big change, along with the other challenges the legislature is facing. I think it should be revamped and overhauled, but will that happen next go around?
No, I don't think it will. It's too soon. The other thing is, I know the state state leaders made a big effort about reforming or revamping property tax the last legislative session. I think as a homeowner, you didn't see that. You don't know what that was.
And you really won't. And one of the flaws in all this is that the legislature mandates that appraisals be done in a certain way,
Yeah.
Especially as it pertains, the property tax discussion as it pertains to school districts. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors there in terms of the state quietly shifting the burden from the state budget onto local property taxpayers. I think a goal in any reform would be to have better accountability to where there's not as much finger pointing. The legislature pointing at local governments who point at the appraisal district, who point back at the state. That's not helpful at all.
Well, I think the perception is it's very subjective of how some of these appraisals are done as well.
Well, the requirement is that it be appraised at market value, and
We've got lots on the books that aren't.
That's true. That is true.
Lots of commercial property that's not held at anywhere near its value.
In the current tax structure, commercial properties have an overwhelming advantage compared to homeowners. And in fact, you've seen the very nefarious effect of current state law in the shift from the overall property tax burden being primarily borne by commercial properties 10, 12, 13 years ago, to where it's very much a burden now of residential homeowners. Rough statistics, probably in the past 12 years, it's gone from 60-40 commercial homeowner just to a complete reversal of that.
Not a knock on, and this isn't a knock on you. I'm going to illustrate just a point. And I don't know all the issues, but Canada has a reputation of being a very high taxed country, right?
Okay.
Across the board. Friend of a friend, because he sent me some information about a home in Calgary that he's looking to buy. $750,000 home is the value. Annual property tax is $4,000. You can't own a home for half that value in Victoria County, and you're paying probably 2/3 more than that.
Right. And one thing too.
But you all work for the government.
Not me. I worked for the Russian government. I worked for the Soviets when I was there.
And that's only like $8 US.
But following up on that, just real quick. I mean, one dynamic too. A lot of comparisons to other states aren't quite accurate. We don't have an income tax. Generally the overall tax burden's split 3 ways. We don't have an income tax, which is good. We don't want one, and we'll never have one, at least not in the.
Well, Alberta has an income tax, but no sales tax.
But so essentially we have sales tax, we have property tax.
And that's worse.
And so we have two of those revenue sources. What is the fix? At the end of the day, we can see the ultimate goal of what it should look like. How to get there is a bigger problem. That's in the hands of the legislature. I think the next legislative session will be, for us, local governments, counties especially, it'll be an effort at minimizing damage to us, because when the state's facing a shortfall, there's only a few ways that they handle that, and 2 or 3 affect us significantly.
So when we talk about real estate and we talk about appraisals, I look downtown. Torrin Bales checked in a few minutes ago.
Hey, Torrin.
Torrin and I have talked about this on numerous occasions. If you're on Constitution Street, kind of catty corner down there from where Greek 205 is, right across the street's that old federal building. Walker Keeling used to be in there, and it's about a 4-story building. It's a beautiful old limestone structure that is sitting there in accelerating decay, because that building that would cost, honest to goodness, I bet it would cost $4 million to build that building with the stonework that's there and all the other things, is on the books in Victoria County for under $100,000. It's on the books for less than it would cost to replace the roof. All right. So the guy that owns it, let's follow the money. The guy that owns it, it was part of Reuben Frells owned it. It got caught up in a bunch of estate garbage and all that. And whoever owns it ultimately, the estate or whatever, pays taxes on call it $100,000. They're paying $2,000 a year. So they've got no incentive, motivation, or financial burden to cause them to actually do something with it. If we got that building on the books for the $800,000 million that it's worth, now the guy goes, man, I got to pay $20,000 in taxes. I'm either going to find a way to rent that building, renovate that building, or sell that building. That alone, squaring up the taxation situation just in downtown Victoria would spur the development of downtown Victoria. Everybody sits down there whining about, we need a Main Street project. What we need is the people that own those buildings to get off their wallets and do something with those buildings. And then also on the backside, and I'll just give it to Raleigh for free, I would like to see a gradual, if I go in there and put $1 million into that building, maybe it was on the books for $100,000, the next year it's $250,000. The next year it's $350,000. You don't just come in and whack them for $2 million in value day one. And I know that's not up your, alley, but there is a plan there. There is a way to do it where people are like, man, I got to do something with this building. I can't just sit down here on this old building and just wait till somebody wants it more than I do.
Caleb Shaw says he had this obviously isn't a judge issue, but he just comments, I'm sure based on what you're talking about, he had a commercial deal die this week because the city wants over $30,000 in exterior modifications.
Oh yeah, the city wants to get in there and go, oh, you're willing to invest in downtown Victoria? Well, we're going to make you. We want to redo the facade. We want to use original colors. We want you to put a new sidewalk. The city's goofy. The city is goofy. That's a period. Torrin Bale says he'll pay $100,000 for that building right now.
We're getting an audience out here.
Yeah, we did. Hello, Dale Zook, and hello, Brother Gary.
And we're heading into areas that are not
let me
your
ask you
jurisdiction.
this. So back to what you do control.
Oh,
There's no value to it, but sentimental for her. She might like it. I got y'all next week. And I got HR out there.
Back to what you do control. Is there any truth that now that you have a quasi-ally in Goliad County, that you're going to come and take it literally and annex Goliad County and make it part of Victoria County? Is there any truth to that?
There's no truth to that.
That's a sure sign that he's up to something. And when a politician denies something, there's no way I would fire Attorney General Barr. That guy needs to clean out his office. He's in trouble.
No annexation plan there.
Okay, well, you heard it here first.
We've got to annex your time though to get the brother man here.
And
I
tomorrow,
don't want to take any more of the brother man's time, so I will step aside.
We appreciate you stopping by, Judge.
You got information.
Before George Coleman got here, tomorrow's advocate would read, Judge denies annexation of Goliad. That's what
that is probably
we
true.
need an investigation. His power has grown too much.
That would have been the headline under a prior.
I think they're doing a better job lately. I hate to applaud other media sources, but they're always 3 days behind us, so it doesn't matter.
There you go. Well, I will step aside. Good seeing you.
I love
Thank you, Judge.
Judge, it's always good to hear you, and I think the world of you, sir. You know that.
Back,
I think the world of you.
tanned, rested, and ready, joining us just after this quick break,
Go ahead, sir.
is the brother man. Gary Moses is back.
He is.
Living proof that antibiotics and rest work.
And hydroxychloroquine.
And
No surgery every other day.
I know for a fact that he had brisket, ribs, chicken, and sausage all coming to him with turkey from Uncle Mutt's Barbecue during his hiatus.
Well, it was a high protein diet.
High protein diet to get him through. He's going to go tell the judge about it. He just walks off camera. Sorry, folks, for just looking at that screen.
It's all right. Beats looking at our
Real quick, so get in to see Uncle Mutt's this week and over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. USA Concrete Coatings, our buddy Charlie Garcia, dial 578 home.
They can transform any concrete surface. They can even resurface tile.
Yeah.
Doesn't just have to be a concrete surface.
Or where you had tile, you know how you take up the tile and you see that grid on there? They'll come in and grind that down, treat it, and you'll never have a problem again. It'll completely transform the room.
Wind services, if you need a backup generator,
Solar panels, battery backup for that. And
You
they've
need-
got every kind of generator,
Or-
diesel, gas, natural gas. They've got it all, propane.
or just electrical work. You've got a shop that has had no power running to it for years, and you figure, well, it's getting hard to run all these extension cords all the time, or you've got them all plugged in, and geez, this is a fire risk.
Yep.
Give Wind a call. Whole lot cheaper to have them come and put electricity into your building than watching that thing burn.
And they do it for everybody. This is not a hobby. Carl Went and his crew will come out and make you glad you
Yeah.
called them.
Great Barn Design for
Nice
all your
quote.
event design needs.
6803.
She's the best.
Yep.
And
920-1603. She is
give
the best.
my wife Cheryl a call. She can help your event look its absolutely best. And what's interesting, COVID is here, but people are starting to plan ahead of COVID.
Oh,
So
yeah.
give her a call now, because even late 2020 and 2021 dates are starting to fill.
I see
So-
it happening.
Brother man, hot off the deal, you know, you heard me talk for years about the greatest neighbor, Tom Ennis, my neighbor over
Yes.
when I lived on Sirocco. Tom, of course, was a city councilman down in Port Lavaca. Tom fires out this. It's important, you know. Tom's 80. Heard anything about IHOP closing? I have not. Have you?
No, sir.
Gary says no truth
No,
to
sir.
that.
I haven't heard it. I mean, that doesn't mean it may not happen.
I
A
mean,
lot of restaurants have closed, but haven't heard it.
I haven't heard it yet either.
I just
It'd
spent
be a
money on a little
shame.
bit of a reno over there, so I don't know.
It would be a shame. How are you, sir? You
I'm
look
fine, sir.
fantastic.
My guess is if they were, there's problems nationally with the change.
Well, that's right.
That's-
because
that's-
we're
that's-
having change
that's a big-
affected here,
yeah.
even in Victoria. But I want to mention the caught HR before, and when I heard him talking about, yes, I got an extra one for I was bringing him in for your daughter.
Now he's saying,
Now he's got him. Now he's got him.
Now he's got it everywhere.
We
It's the second run.
We didn't rate on the first run.
Original run was sold out for charity. And we're gonna do some, giving some charity on these, but it's mostly for giveaways. And HR, they were very kind, and I saw him talk to the little man.
His pockets are full. He's got like 200 in his pockets.
Well, I brought some for you. I'll be with y'all outside.
Back in the day, was it J.P. Morgan that used to give away dimes to kids? And Brother Gary's like, here, have a Brother Man
No
pen.
value whatsoever.
Right, have a Brother
No
Man pen.
value whatsoever, but fun.
Couldn't you get like a little something, like if you went into Veracruz, maybe they give you a free glass of tea if you were a Brother
No,
Man
they can't give you.
No,
Nobody's
Oh,
gonna give you
okay.
the tea.
for like $4.50
Yeah.
a glass.
I love it for thank you for words, but I got something for that your family. Also, I just wanna
Free
mention-
chips and hot sauce.
Right, you get chips and hot sauce.
Judge would not appreciate, but the wife would, the wife, a very nice lady, she likes me, I like
Sure.
her.
Oh, Jamie's a
And
sweetheart.
HR, I told her we had something I was gonna bring, so I had them set up for Thursday here. So here we go. Well, all right, boys, real quick.
You've been bragging all week that you had
Couple
some
of
for
quick
us.
events, and then I got a little information.
All right.
We'll make it quick. Go-Ahead County Area Go-Tex and Touring Pro PBR this Saturday night. Your daughter does a lot with Go-Ahead.
Go ahead, rodeo, yeah.
Yes, sir. They're doing a professional bull riding event. Go-Ahead County Fairgrounds, 8 o'clock Saturday night. You're gonna follow the rules, social distancing. and-
The bull's gonna wear a mask.
Bull's gonna wear a mask. Why did you get that? You're good. And then, of course, you remember, you did this one last year, Miss Golden Crescent Pageant this Saturday.
Beautiful
Afternoon
event.
and evening, beautiful event. I'm gonna be emceeing it. We had a quinceañera. I had one Saturday night, but they had to postpone it. A lot of that stuff, they're rescheduling,
Right.
like Ash is saying for Cheryl. They're rescheduling, but they're gonna do it again later. They didn't wanna kind of force it in
Sure.
this weekend. So there's 2 events. And the second one, I said, was at Family Worship Center, Miss Golden Crescent Pageant. All right, you ready for the sports?
Here he comes.
Here he
folks. Here
comes.
he comes. Coming in hot.
He's only had 3 weeks to prepare.
Right.
He
He was here last Thursday.
Come on now. Anyway, that's your bread, pleasure, guys. It's blessing. Thank you, HR, again, for doing that. God bless you. All right, here we go. Most valuable sports franchises, 2020 by Forbes. Okay.
Dallas
Who do
Cowboys.
you think the number one?
Dallas Cowboys.
All right, Jerry Jones bought them for $150 million in 1989. They're worth, and they're number one out of the top 50. Cowboys, $5.5 billion, $5.5 billion.
Wow.
That's what they're worth.
Think about that, man.
Was
Bought
number
them for $150 in 1989 million. Now billion.
But think about it. That was a lot of money in 1989 too. He got a lot of flack for overpaying for the Cowboys
So,
then.
yeah, he did. But so basically, so if you made 3% on $5 billion, that would be $150 million. He makes back every year in
What he paid
interest
for that
alone what he would.
Now,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have
Isn't
All
that
right, number 2 is the baseball team. Now, the 27 out of the top 50 are NFL. You know, there's some soccer.
Is that in the NA? Is that North
All
American or all over the world?
Over the world. This is soccer teams and everything.
So it's got to be the Yankees have to be number 2.
Well, Yankees are number 2, right? The New York Yankees, baseball, $5 billion they're worth. They're number 2. Because they got soccer teams and everything.
It's all about markets. And somewhere, number 3 is going to be a soccer team.
Manchester United?
No, sir. And there are some up there, but it's the basketball team. What area would you be in?
Lakers.
Either New York or California, right?
It's got to be
Number 3.
Lakers.
The New York Knicks.
Oh.
4.6
Isn't that
billion.
something? They haven't won a game and they haven't won a championship since the 60s.
Well, are they? Well, but that's MSG, right? They own the New York Rangers and Madison Square Garden, so I wonder if that's all lumped into there.
That's all I'm putting there. The Lakers are 4th, 4.4. Warriors are 5th, 4.3. The next rated highest NFL team, a lot of championships. Who would it be?
Patriots.
Patriots. They're number 7. New England Patriots.
that just shows that.
$1 billion.
And they've got proximity to New York. And they're in Boston.
They're right there.
It's all about
I
location.
don't know that I would, if I had the money, I don't know that I would invest and pay that for Golden State, because I have a feeling when they start losing and not having the success, that franchise ain't gonna be worth
Go down. They're number 5 right now.
they're not gonna be worth 4
They're
point something billion.
What you call it? The Patriots are number 7. That's the second highest NFL team. All right, let's go down. Houston Texans. They are ranked number 20. You know what they're worth, boys?
Wow, what?
$3.1 billion. The Texans are
Now
still worth
think about that,
$3.1
because that was only a couple of $100 million franchise.
Yeah.
I mean, it was only a couple $100 million.
That's it. And
Well, you got a big stadium.
Beautiful stadium.
All right, so Houston Astros. They're worth, and that's still pretty good for a baseball team. Astros, $1.85 billion.
Now, what did
600, 700, somewhere in there is what he paid for
man,
it.
he's like tripled his money.
Yeah, he's tripled his money. See, that's a success.
We're gonna buy
And
a
he got
team.
and he got a discount because he had to go over to the American League.
Why don't we buy a team?
It would be great. All
You know how many of these Brother Gary pins we'd have to sell to raise the money?
I got a bunch now.
Just $1 billion and $1
Hey,
apiece.
I got a bunch. All right, let me go to hockey real quick. Last part. Top most valuable hockey teams. I put down top 3.
Toronto Maple Leafs.
Well, one is in America, the United States. What's it? The United States. 2 are in Canada. What'd you say? Toronto?
Toronto Maple Leafs.
They are number
Nashville.
2 at $1.5 billion.
Is Nashville a big one?
No, the New York Rangers would
New
be.
York Rangers, number 1 rated most valuable hockey team. The Rangers, $1.65 billion.
Your Rangers.
My Rangers.
The Rangers right there.
And then Montreal Canadiens would be
Is
number 3.
correct. Boy, you know
And doesn't
your
it
hockey
seem
goes,
like
boy.
it seems
You know your
like
hockey.
just the Canadians are kind of like the Yankees of
Randy
hockey.
knows his
Yeah.
hockey.
23 Stanley Cups.
Just the other day when they
At a
were playing
hometown
hockey,
football game,
right? I have often.
my wife and I ran into.
I've often thanked God for unanswered prayers. No, when I thought I knew best, and I clearly did not. What about the hockey though? Just a couple of seasons ago, the league was bankrupt. They couldn't make payroll.
That's not bad.
Now you're with 1.8 billion.
I don't know how many you're talking about.
It wasn't that long ago that hockey was. They had a lockout. Remember they had a lockout. Oh, gee.
Well, yeah, they had a lockout. Doesn't mean they're bankrupt.
Are there any
It's not the XFL.
professional curling teams
I
on
didn't see
that?
that in the top 50.
Why couldn't we?
You don't own a franchise. All the name recognition is on the skin.
All you need is a couple of stones.
And you did talk
It'd
about
be
boys,
Team Carter,
you did
Team
say-
Moses, Team Wade.
We can do it.
We could.
You did bring up Dwayne Johnson, the Rock, right?
No, sir. You
Oh,
tell
you
us.
didn't get the Rock?
No.
The Rock, Dwayne Johnson bought into the XFL.
Oh, yeah.
He brought that $15 million.
That's it. Pennies on the dollar.
Pennies on the dollar.
Cheap for him to buy that.
The Rock is in football now. They want to get some big names.
He wasn't that good when he was in football in Miami, but
He couldn't make it with the Calgary Stampeders of the Canadian Football League either.
but he was a great wrestler.
Oh,
He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
You can tell the Rock is a nice
built,
guy.
man. You don't want to mess with him.
You don't think he's on some special supplementary
No,
vitamins?
not at all. Not right now. He's making a movie.
Right. Brother man, always
Was that
look,
good?
you look good on the tube. Wave to the people. Tell everybody bye.
Thank y'all very
Folks,
much.
we're going to get out of here. We've cut into
We
Ralph's
gotta
time.
get out of here, yeah.
And, we hope you guys have a great day. YouTubers, stay tuned. We love you guys. We'll talk to you. Okay, we'll do it tomorrow.